Cowabunga Corner. In this episode, we have a special guest who worked on the original Ninja Turtle cartoon series, Bill Wolf. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
How did you get into cartoons? Were you a cartoon fan as a kid, or?
Well, of course, yes, I was as a kid. But I'm fortunate my dad worked in the cartoon business. So, I loved it. And then, I found out my dad actually made them. So, of course, I followed in the footsteps and started drawing. And he'd, teach me little tricks and stuff.
Oh, what was your first series that you actually got to work on?
Well, I became, actually I was a cell painter on this film called The Naked Ape that my dad did with Playboy Productions. And I was just a lowly cell painter.
Well,
And then the next summer I was an assistant animator.
That's awesome. That was a good jump.
Yeah.
What other cartoon series did you work on before Ninja Turtles came out?
Before the Ninjas, right before the Ninjas, I just finished with Disney on DuckTales, and I worked overseas in Tokyo, Japan, and Taipei, Taiwan for 2 years. And before that, I was at Marvel Productions. I worked on the My Little Pony feature.
That's cool. You mentioned before that you also worked on He-Man?
Yeah.
What did you do with He-Man?
I was an assistant animator on that too.
Okay. Now, when Ninja Turtles was first brought to you, did you learn about it through your father, or were you there for the initial meeting?
No, my father got it first. I was still finishing up at Disney, technically, when the first 5 episodes were produced.
So you came over after the big band that surprised everyone.
That little 5 package was like a gamble on the toy department, the distributor, and Fred, to put the animation up, because usually productions don't get done unless they, number one, have a toy deal already, or distribution, or they have footage to broadcast. So nobody had anything, so everyone just committed on the honor system, and it clicked.
It really did. It was an amazing surprise to everyone that was around for the time.
Yeah.
Now, when you came in, what part of the department did you first start working in with Turtles?
Direction.
Direction?
Direction department.
So, with Ninja Turtles, what was the process of direction? We know that Susan Blue was the voice director. Did you help with directing how the animation sells, or
yeah? It's all told. You do everything. You read the stories first. They give you a little premise of what the story's about, and if you like the idea of it, then it goes to outline where the beats are kind of stirred out, and then it goes to script. So I was involved every step of the way on that.
That's pretty neat. How many?
It's funny, grown men like me, David Wise, Fred Wolf, Walt Kubiak, are going, no, Michelangelo would never say this. We men are
Well, you get to know your characters. Yeah. How many people were working on each episode? Was there a handful handling certain episodes, or did you go over every episode like that?
We kind of did every episode.
So you really had your hands in through the full process.
Because every week we just do a new show. All the stuff would trickle in. A new script would come in every week. You'd have to read, and the one that you were working on that you recorded, you'd be working on that. You'd be gearing up for the next recording session. And then slowly but surely, after about 12 weeks, in addition to that, footage would come back from overseas. You'd have to edit that, and add sound effects and the music.
Now, what was the process of approving the artwork for each episode? Because some of the artwork was different from other episodes. You had your normal animation, but there was episodes like Cowabunga Shredhead, where the animation seemed a little bit more loose, different style completely. Was there different studios overseas handling that, or was it one group?
Yeah, we tried to cast, but it's ultimately it really didn't matter. It's like kind of a round robin, who gets what. Sometimes you get a strong team with a good story, and you get a really good show. But sometimes, if you gave like a so-so story and not so good team got it, it wasn't the most exciting show.
Oh, they were still fun. Cowabunga Corner's a favorite. Oh, they were though, because if it wasn't for every show working as well as it did, I don't think that we would have had the success that we did of Turtles back in the day.
Or like I always say at hip-hop concerts, some days you get the candy, some days you get the rapper.
Now with the cartoon series, did you ever get to sit in on any of the voice recordings or watch any of those?
Absolutely. Through Susan Blue as the animation director, I tell her like, oh, can James say that with a little more conviction? So she tell him because of the dialogue director. So any of my notes or observations, I tell her to communicate to the actors. So, just for one voice, to keep it consistent. Because you have everyone yelling at the actors, they don't know what's going,
Yeah, it's a teamwork. Everything falls into place.
Yeah.
How many times were there a group of actors together instead of just one or two?
We tried to every member of the cast was there. We very rarely did pickups where one guy would come in to do his lines. They worked as an ensemble. So when they'd feed off each other, and you get little ad libs and stuff. And just the inflection when you're actually talking to someone, saying your line talking to someone, it's a lot better than just reading it to the wind.
Oh yes, it's a lot easier to bounce off the other actors.
Yeah.
Now, how was it? Was it separate recording booths they were in?
No, they'd go in one booth. And there'd be 6 or 7 microphones set up. We'd be on the other side of the glass, so they'd record amongst themselves. So we'd always have to tell them, don't rattle the script papers.
Oh, I can understand that. You got a mic and you're just shipple, and even loud clothing could be a bad thing. Now, with being on the inside of the recording booth, where the engineer and everything, how many people were watching? Was it the voice director, engineer, you? How was the...
Yeah, pretty much. That was it. Fred would come by sometimes. Sometimes the producer would come by. Sometimes we'd have guests.
And was that all done here in the Los Angeles area or Burbank?
Yeah, in Studio City at a screen cartoonist.
Okay, that's pretty neat. It's been interesting to know how the cartoon goes together as a whole. Because that's stuff that not many of us actually got to see back in the day. There was no making of the cartoon special ever made.
So the process is basically, once the script is done, they're recording it, but somebody's drawing the storyboard simultaneously. So when you get a storyboard that depicts all your scene setups, then you get it back with the track, and that's where you direct on the sheets, instructing the animator how to animate each character.
Now, did you also get to help with picking the music for the background music and stuff for the show?
Yeah, Dennis Brown did most of the music.
Okay.
But you'd always have to audition the music. That was just the term for it.
Oh, I did not know that.
So a lot of times, sometimes he had a vast library by the end of it, but he'd go, I wrote a new theme for this character, and this and that, but then there was the old theme song, and softer versions of it.
Everyone loves the original theme song.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things that's ever come out music-wise for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did you have a favorite version of the theme song?
Yeah, I think the first one I like best.
That is my favorite too. And it's my favorite out of all the series. The original cartoon has the best theme. And do you have a favorite character in the Ninja Turtles?
I'd probably have to say Raphael, the quipster, because I throw quips too.
I heard that Rob and Pat used to goof off a lot and ad-lib a bit here and there in the recording studio.
Yeah, Townsend did too.
Townsend did too. Was there any times where you had to cut what they ad-libbed that you wanted to keep, but you couldn't keep it?
Yeah. Sometimes with Pat, he'd go like a little over the edge. So you'd have to reel him back. But most of the times when they ad-lib, they actually plussed and they added, because they had their own take of who their character was.
Yeah, they grew into the parts throughout the seasons.
So like you hit it before, teamwork. There was a lot of teamwork on this, because I worked at big studios where like whenever there's a problem, they just throw more money at it. Where like my dad and our company, we just get more people and just do it freelance, get it done. Our cost factors were accountable.
That works. If you can make it affordable, money is a major issue in trying to keep production going. And if you can do it without worry, because you got a good team, it's helpful. Now, throughout the seasons, they did changes. Like, we got to see a lot of episodes a little bit there where it was without Shredder and then Shredder, without Shredder and then Shredder. Was that done on purpose, or was that done just to kind of break things up?
Kind of just to break things up. But then towards the end, when CBS got involved, they had their own story ideas that we had to try and incorporate. Like Carter, the fifth turtle, that was a CBS.
With Carter and Dregg, was writing for them different? Was trying to come up with the characters? Because it seemed there was some character struggle, especially with Carter.
Yeah, it was like difficult to keep him in the mix logically. Like, why is he even there?
Because
you cross the line of reality and fantasy of the turtles, then you're like introducing something that's real into a fantasy world. And they don't really, to me personally, they didn't really mix that well.
Yeah, they it seemed like it became the Carter show where the turtles would get in trouble and Carter would come to the rescue. And and Lord Dregg, bringing him as the villain, trying to come up with a story on why the turtles were fighting him had to be a bit of a struggle there.
Yeah.
Because it didn't flow as easy as Shredder did. Did you have any favorite episodes?
Well, I wrote one that is one of my favorites, Burns Blues.
That's a fun one.
It's like when Byrne gets frustrated with April because she can't land a big story, so he goes, "Oh, let me show you how it's done."
And him and Vernon.
It was kind of like tongue-in-cheek against my dad, because like when I was like directing, he never made a mistake when he was directing. He was one of those. Like when I used to do this, I never would do that. And it got to be like, okay, I know you walked on water. So I wrote this episode. I don't think he ever noticed what it was about.
Oh, that's definitely an interesting backstory behind that episode.
Yeah.
Did you write any of the other episodes?
Well, me and this guy, Elliot Darrow, he was our post-production supervisor, Elliot Darrow. We wrote one, we said, like, doesn't every show, like, one character, it's his birthday, and all the others pretend that they're going to have a surprise party. And then he thinks that they've all forgot, and he goes off, and, you know, that's the foundation of the story. Every show has that. So we wrote Michelangelo's birthday.
And they all turn into the big balloons, mutated. Yeah. You wrote some good ones. They're definitely ones I remember clearly.
Well, those are too wild. Only the two. Because at some point, after like 70 episodes, like how much more can they do?
They were able to do a lot, so it just became
just
more.
To keep it fresh and
more stories. It was pretty cool. Now, when did you realize that Ninja Turtles was becoming more than most cartoons out there on the market?
One of the big things that really did it was when CBS secured the broadcasting rights. It was the first time in television history that a syndicated show went to network. It's usually the other way around. Network shows end up in rerun on syndication. So this was like the opposite, first time.
Now, have you watched Turtles since the show's been off the air, or have you gone on with different things?
I don't really watch cartoons on TV that much. Most people are disappointed.
Oh, there's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
We all enjoy something different, and that's important to keep.
The last show I worked on, Boondocks, for Sony TV, I still watch them. I think the show's kind of funny. Plus, I like to see my name at the end.
That's
I'm still
fun.
a little, after doing this job like 40 years now or plus, or a little, almost 40 years, I still get a thrill to see my name.
I don't blame you, because it's a pretty cool job. Now, with the jobs of being in the entertainment, have you made a lot of friends that worked on shows with you that you've stayed in touch with, like from the Ninja Turtles?
Oh yeah.
That you've been friends with all this time?
Yeah, there's this fellow, Neil Warner, and I've known Neil since 1975. We started out as assistant animators at Murakami Wolf on a feature called Mouse and His Child. And then the following year we had Puff the Magic Dragon. During the Mouse and Child, I just was 1 year removed from high school. So I'm in like the big leagues.
Oh, but, you're naming stuff that I knew of since I was really little, so Puff the Magic Dragon's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, the very first one, Chuck and my dad animated the whole thing, and Neil and I were the only assistants. So 4 people did all the animation.
Wow, that's pretty sweet to hear. That's cool.
Like in the movie The Point, my dad animated that all himself. And Chuck Swinson animated a feature himself.
Well, I know The Point. The Point's a great movie. I've watched it quite a few times.
Okay.
I know a bit about The Point, and so I thought that was pretty cool. It was a musical and stuff too. So
Yeah.
that was.
Well, it's Harry Nilsson was the co-producer. It's his story and his songs.
Yeah, it's some great stuff that your family has been able to take part in that many of us have enjoyed as fans throughout the years. And Turtles, of course, is my main thing there, but have you got to work on much, like you mentioned, Boondocks, where it's past the days of animation cells, and how's the process different? Does it feel that different?
Well, it's what I do on the last few jobs is like sheet timing. It's like exposure sheets or the blueprint of animation. It's like a frame of film, line for every frame of film. So they phonetically break down the dialogue so the mouths can be animated accordingly. So the right shape so it looks like the characters talking, and you plot out what they do. Like, say Michelangelo points when he goes, "Hey, look, there's a pizza." Instead of, "Hey, look, he can do it anytime."
Yeah.
But someone should really say.
They got to direct to make sure the mouth and body movements and everything fits the character and fits the words.
And then that goes overseas, and they do the pencil drawings. Though we used to do here, but the prep work here to get it ready for them is just almost as many people are working.
Wow.
Just maybe not working as hard.
I think it's hard work no matter where you are and what you're doing. It's constant being dedicated to the job and making sure that it's good product going out and coming in. So, now, is there anything you would like to have seen come out of the Turtles that you guys were not able to do?
Not really, maybe a feature. They have those CGI features in the guys dressed up features. I wonder if we ever made an animated feature.
That would have gone over well. There's so many fans of the original series. We would have liked to have seen Bebop and Rocksteady in the features.
Yeah.
So.
Me and that fellow, our post-production supervisor, Ellie, and we had an idea pitching the Rocksteady and Bebop half-hour comedy hour.
Oh, that would be awesome!
But like, when we really started trying to write it down, it's like it sounds neat and everyone laughs, but what do you actually do? Like, if you get 30 minutes a week, 22 minutes a week, turn them into like the Three Stooges, where they always get in predicaments.
Oh, you know that's what would happen with them. They get themselves in trouble.
Well, they did anyway in the radio show.
All the time. Like, I love the episode where they created Slash, where it was Bebop's little pet turtle and getting in trouble for having a pet turtle. So, out of your villains, which villains was your favorite? Was it Bebop and Rocksteady, or did you have another villain that appeared that you really liked?
It was like Krang and Shredder, because they tried to be so evil, but they came this close to being like true evil bad guys, but they were always thwarted.
Well, it would have worked if they did a little bit more teamwork instead of backstabbing each other all the time. Yeah. But that's what made them special. Is there anything you would like to say to fellow Turtle fans out there who's watching this?
Well, just thanks you guys for all the support over the years. It's been fun.
Okay, and thank you.
We couldn't have done it without you, you know.
Very true.
It was a pleasure to do it for you. And I'm glad you guys got so much fun out of it. We had a blast making it.
Yeah, it was a blast watching it too. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you guys for watching us. We'll catch you next time here on Cowabunga Corner. Would you mind taking us out with a Cowabunga?
Cowabunga!